Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by fellow lifetime Longhorn, the young prodigy, C.J. Vogel, and also joined by our own coach, former high school football coach at Vernon, Capel, Brownwood, Belton, Rotan. Also played college football at Abilene Christian and coached there as well, and was on the staff at the University of Texas for multiple head football coaches. And these days, you can catch his wonderful work at, boom, right there, at ShipleyRanches.com. It's our own Coach Bob Shipley. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. I think summer finally decided to set in on us, but that's okay. It's been a pretty mild. We can't complain too much.
I know. In Austin, it's been like overcast and kind of like, it hadn't been very extreme heat. I mean, it's been hot, but it hadn't been extreme. So I don't know. Maybe we're getting like the good side of things. But either way, yeah, we know the heat it's coming. It's summertime.
Is that not a typical old man response? Hey, Coach, and every week I'm talking about the weather.
Hey, the older I get, the more I appreciate people who know stuff about the weather. All right, it helps to know a little something about the weather. And as you get older, stuff starts hurting on your body when bad weather's approaching. So you can actually almost work as your own meteorologist at times. CJ, I don't know how the weather is down there, but you're in San Antonio right now, still and man, you've been on the road. You were at SEC Media Days. You went to Tyler Atkinson's one of his practices. You and Jerry were on the road there, and I don't know how long you went home for, but it wasn't long. And then now you're in San Antonio for the Texas High School Coaches Association. Man, we appreciate your hard work. But what's going on down there? You guys had Sark earlier, but have you had anything piqued your interest lately since Sark left?
No, not a whole lot. And I got home just enough to remember what my bed felt like before hitting the road again this weekend. So, yeah, I'm excited. I got a little surprise at the end of the month too. So we'll get to that here in the next week and a half or so. But it should be fun, man. I'm excited for it. But yeah, down here in San Antonio this weekend, Sark spoke yesterday. Obviously, a lot of high school coaches down here. Coach, we talked about it a little bit beforehand. You're no stranger to coming down to these conventions as well, coaching school. But right now, a lot of buzz on the recruiting trail, Rod, and that's kind of triculated down into some of the talking points I've had here in San Antonio.
Yeah, I don't know what Sark is doing, Coach, but every time he's I think the last 2 times he hit the podium, he's basically had commitments from big-time recruits when he's talking to the media. I don't know if they're planning that or not. Like, I don't know what that is. Maybe that's a plan. Maybe that's a new thing to make a splash. But whatever it is, it's working. But, Coach, I want to ask you, because we'll get into – there are a lot of stories I want to get into, of course. We got there's an athletic article about a hypothetical. If all of the major college football programs were up for purchase, like what would be the value of them, basically? That's kind of, I think, the conversation. So I want to get into that a little bit because the Longhorns are very high on that list. Also, I want to get Coach's thoughts about the latest commitment for the Longhorns in the 2026 class, the running back out of Florida, Derrek Cooper. I want to get your thoughts, Coach, about him and what you think is kind of special about him. Longhorn fans still buzzing from that commitment. Also, we'll dive into some Longhorn football discussion because we are very close. Are we 40 days away? Are we 40?
40.
Oh, 40 seems 40 is it's just so easy to do 40. We can do 40 days all day. You can do that anytime. All right. 40 days, 40 nights. That's easy peasy. All right. So we'll get into that because I know Longhorn fans are excited about the actual season coming up. But your questions, your comments, whatever you guys want to talk about, throw it out there. Super chats, jump to the front of the line, and you can interrupt the show at any time. Coach, can you tell us really quickly about coaching Texas High School Coaches Convention there? Because some people call it coaching school. Can you give us a little behind the scenes, like what goes on?
It's unbelievable. I don't know what the attendance is this year. It's usually 10 to 15,000, something like that. Have you heard a number, CJ?
Not this year, but Coach, last year it was around 16.
High school, junior high, and high school coaches there, and it may be more than that now because it used to be exclusively for men's sports only, and now the women are there, and they have a lot of specific things. They used to have a different coaching school for women, maybe the week or two before, and then for men. And I'm thinking maybe I don't know if they combined them, and they still have the women's coaching school, but there are a lot more because there's a lot more crossover with like there's a lot of football coaches that may coach softball, or girls track or whatever. So there's more women there now than there used to be, but I tell you, when I was there with Mac Brown, it was like, I mean, I'm sure exactly like it is with Sark. It's rock star status, you know. And then after a while, Mac would look at me and kind of give me a nod, and that was my cue to go up and put my arm through and say, "Coach, we got to go. We're already late, Coach. I mean, we're very late. We got to go." And so I would escort him out, and because he was late, because he always had another engagement. Either it was alumni or it was, you know, donors or something. There's always somewhere he had to be. And so he could only stay there for so long. And it was kind of rude for him to say, "Guys, I'm sorry, but I have another function I've got to be at." He would just kind of give me the nod. And I would say, "Coach, I'm so sorry. Guys, I'm so sorry. I hate to be the bad guy here, but we got to go." Otherwise, he'd be there signing autographs and taking pictures all day. And I'm sure Sark is exactly the same, if not more, just because of the great relationship that he has with his players and the culture, which obviously has fed over to high school coaches. They love what he's doing at the University of Texas, from all of them that I talked to. And so it's just I'm sure right now, as much as any time, it's a ball to be on the University of Texas staff and be at the high school coaches convention, because people want to associate with winners. They want to know the secret sauce, you know. What are you guys doing, you know? And it's a great thing for Texas high school football to have Coach Sark and that staff here in this state, in the capital of this great state, and running, you know, the football program the way that they're running it. It's not going to do anything but bleed over into high school programs and just make them help create a greater culture, which in turn will help all of college football in Texas, not just UT, because they can't take them all. But anyway, I just think it's a great staff. I mean, they pay attention to details, and they know that Texas high school coaches are very important to their recruiting, and they invite those guys in to come watch practice anytime they want to. You know, they give them a couple of tickets each to come to a game if they want to come to a game. Of course, the coaches' tickets are limited, but anyway, I always had to take care of that. And so you always save a few extra one for, you know, for those big dogs, you know, that call in last minute, you know, and say, "Hey, Coach, I'm from Duncanville. I got a couple guys who want to come." We got you, Coach. You and your coach come on out, you know. But it's a lot of fun. It's an exciting time because, you know, it's almost here, man, because everybody's talking. And you see everybody, half the people you see, you remember them, but you don't know their name. But it's no problem. You know why? Everybody down there, their name is Coach. So everybody's Coach. Yeah. So the friends, everybody, "Hey, Coach, how you doing? Where you at now?" And then the third question is, "How y'all going to be this year?" It's over and over and over.
That's a great point.
That's all I've got.
You don't remember anybody's name because everybody's coach. That's great. That's a quote of the day. That is a quote of the day about the Texas high school.
You don't have to remember names there. It's everybody's coach. Coach, how you been? Long time no see. I have no idea who the heck you are.
You hugging on him. You got him hugging on him, coach, and everything. It's so good to see you.
They got their name badge. You can tell when they don't recognize it because they're looking at your name badge.
Oh yeah, you got to be good with the eyes.
Yeah. You got to play it off though. You know, you got to look at the badge and look off somewhere else, and then you know. You got
to pull the phone out low, look down, scan.
Yeah, do like Coach Brown did. Repeat their name about 5 times in the conversation so you'll remember it.
Mac had a great memory for that. Most of us are human, and we don't, you know, it's hard to remember. When you meet a lot of people, like you said, Coach, thousands of folks, it's really tough to remember everybody's name. You ask them out of respect the first time, but then you feel bad asking somebody the third time you met them. "Hey, what's your name again?" Like, man, I've asked you about your wife and your kids. I can't ask you your name now. So I feel you, Coach. That's like, hey.
No, let me tell you, the best way to do it is have a buddy with you and tell your buddy to introduce himself to him because he doesn't know him. Then you know, "Hey, have you met my buddy here? You know, Rod, have y'all met?" And then, "Hey, no, I hadn't. Hey, how you doing? I'm Rod Babers." And, "Hey, I'm Joe McGillicuddy." "All right, good to meet you, Joe." Yeah, Joe and I have been buddies a long time.
Oh, you got to eat a wingman, basically. You got to eat a wingman.
That's exactly.
Okay, let's get to one of my favorite wingmen before we dive into some other topics. We got questions. Oh, you know what? Oh, actually, we got a super chat real quick. We got to hit this. Oh.
Uh-oh, here it comes. Oh,
I almost missed that one. Oh, Brooke Atkinson. Is that kinfolk? I don't know. I don't know if y'all related or not. We appreciate it, Brooke. Thank you very much for the super chat. That is very kind of you to start the show. That's the way you want to start the show. It says, one saw Tyler Atkinson train with DJ and was at the collective. Heard Bijan made a call to Derrek Cooper. Is that part of the recruiting strategy? What do high school coaches think of UT compared to others? Oh, that is a great question. CJ, I'll kind of throw that one to you, and then I want Coach to jump into it because Coach was, back in the day part of the recruiting department in a way. Is that a strategy, or is this just part of the culture? Is it culture bleed over that guys have? Because I know guys have a lot of pride in the program when they leave. I had a lot of pride in that program. The guys now have a lot of pride in the program once they leave. And is this part of the strategy? Is this intentional?
I think this was more coincidental. I know Texas has used previous players, graduates to the NFL before in specific examples. Look, Tyler Atkinson moving to Austin over the summer, that wasn't necessarily something that I think Texas was fully aware of until he showed up. It was like, oh, wait, you're down here. All right, let's get you set up. Anthony Hill, start training at the collective together. Derrek Johnson comes down, obviously, with that pre-existing relationship. Now the three are working together. And that factor might have been overstated just a little bit. But look, when you got a Bijan Robinson calling your name, folks are going to listen. And it's more the byproduct of this staff having put in, 35 players to the NFL in the last 4 or 5 years. Now you're able to do that. Because when Bijan Robinson was getting recruited, I don't know if Texas had that, that ace up the sleeve to get him on the phone and say, all right, this is why Texas is the place for you. And that's even after having a pretty illustrious, history of running backs. There just wasn't that guy at the time. Now Texas is able to put those guys into the league, and they're ambassadors for the University of Texas. And that's going to continue, right? 23 guys drafted the last 2 years. Well, now you can go have a Kelvin Banks call Kennedy Brown in 2 years, right? The 5-star kid out of Kingswood. That's just part of the benefit of getting this ball rolling. Alabama's been able to utilize that. Ohio State at wide receiver, no question about it. And, of course, Georgia, any position on the defense side of the ball, they have, 10, 20 guys in the league. They could just call up and say, Georgia's the place for you because of X, Y, Z. Texas now utilizing that in their own right, and, hey, it helped.
Coach, was this something that was done, back when you were on campus? Like, do you remember any examples of this, coincidental or intentional?
No, well, I don't know about necessarily training, but there's no doubt that, for example, they would call Jordan in if they had a guy that they knew liked to hunt and fish or whatever, or was, I hate to say this, was a wide receiver. You know what I mean? So somebody, whoever you're going to bring in, it's going to be somebody they can relate to for whatever reason, whether it's, quarterback with Mintz or with Colt or whatever. You're going to try to bring people in that they can relate to. Absolutely, but it's a lot easier now because now we have guys that are just volunteering themselves recruiting because they believe so much in the culture and in the staff and in the direction of the program, and that's when you're heading in the right direction. When you don't have to, somebody could have given Bijan a heads up, but everybody loves this staff. Everybody loves the culture. The guys that have been through it. Is it easy? No, it's hard, but the culture is worth it. And just to answer the second question there, I think high school coaches love the University of Texas. Here's what it comes down to me with high school coaches. My experience there as 4 years and director of high school relations. High school coaches want access. That's what they want. They want to be made to feel like a coach, like the head coach has time for them. That hasn't always been the case at the University of Texas over the last couple of guys. But Sark always takes time out for these guys, as well as the coaching staff. So they want you to feel like you're a part. You are a part of the flagship program in this great state, and you are helping us develop players, and let us help you develop players with time with our strength staff, or sit down and watch a film with you, talking ball, whatever. So I think the high school coaches really think a lot of Sark and his program. They're very modest. They're not a very boastful program. They don't put other programs down. They are who they are, and I think Sark proved that during SEC media days when the Warham was played. He's never even talked about it that I know of because it doesn't even.
No, I thought nobody asked him about it. What the hell? Come on, guys.
No, it's so
DJ.
Yeah, he's way bigger than that. That's a petty thing. You know what I'm saying? And so I think coaches look at that and they appreciate that he's not going to be stuck in the pettiness of stuff like that. And I think the high school coaches are really on board with this Texas staff and their culture, and they just want to learn as much as they can about it because they hear about it so much. Like I said, they want to know the secret sauce so they can take it home and input whatever they can, whatever nuggets they can get, try to plug it in to how it fits in their program.
It's good stuff, Coach. And CJ, nobody asked Coach about the Aggie Wars, him and battle song, whatever fight song being played when he was being introduced at SEC Media Days. Nobody asked him.
No one asked him. There's a lot of questions about recruiting and NIL and how do you balance the in-state and out-of-state. I get it. Texas high school, coaches want to see their kids get recruited by Texas. But no, that was completely overlooked. And now
I'm glad.
No, Coach is right. Nobody was worried about it. People had, more
it's
macro.
Way bigger to them than it is to Sark, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Brooke, for the super chat. Very kind of you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brooke.
That was awesome. Great way to start the show. And I assume there's no relation. You're not kinfolk of Tyler Atkinson. Otherwise, I'd assume the chat will be going crazy. But we still appreciate you very much being a part of the OTF family. All right, another member of the OTF family who we have neglected way too long. I don't even know if he's still there. He might have been like, to hell with y'all. I got to go to work. My man Stevie Lee, who is my former teammate. Hey, there he is, and lifetime Longhorn. Really appreciate him making the time, as always, courtesy of our good friends at Hardgrove Roofing, hardgroveroofing.com. You can go check them out if you have any concerns or questions about your roof. Leave it to the professionals over at Hardgrove Roofing, 512-645-3202. They have offices all over Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. All those places Texas is recruiting. They got offices there. All right, so check them out for yourself. That's hardgroveroofing.com. And they're the most pro-burnt orange roofing company out there. That's why they have great relationships with my former teammate and lifetime Longhorn Stevie Lee. Stevie, thank you very not kinfolk, but I'll be buying an Atkinson jersey. There you go. Because it makes sense for you, on so many levels. You know what I mean? So thank you very much, Brooke. We appreciate your kindness. What's up, Stevie? How you doing, brother? How was your weekend?
I'm good, man. I love seeing you in your helmet, bro.
Oh man, it made me feel good. Now I like putting it on, but I got to make sure I can only put it on for big super chats like what Brooke was offering up there.
Question.
You see, I enjoy it. I keep it on as long as I can. I keep it on for a while. Way too long.
You still got your helmet lying around?
What's that?
You still got your helmet lying around?
My helmet is upstairs. I haven't put it on in years. I don't think that thing fit no more.
Yeah, dude, your head are you growing? I don't know if your head grows.
I don't know, man. I don't think it'll fit anymore. I probably should get it down here and try it on. But man, that was fun. That was so you do that for the super chats. I need to be a super chat.
I do it for anytime I get a very generous super chat. So Brooke was 40. Yeah, so a big one. We get great super chats all the time. I can't do it for every super chat, then I keep the helmet on the whole show.
Oh, I'm clicking refresh.
Exactly. So I do it for the big super chats, and our OTF family, they're very kind. So I actually do it. I end up doing it a lot. So I appreciate them. Let me ask you this, because the narrative since SEC Media Days, a lot of it has been about the new rivalry in the SEC. I'm not going to pat myself on the back too much, but I did say a year ago that Texas and Georgia were going to be the new rivalry, the new rivalry. Now, Texas and Oklahoma, that's still the rivalry. And Texas and Texas A&M, that's a long storied history there and tradition, and so is Texas Arkansas. So I'm not saying that their rivals, their current rivals and long-standing rivals aren't important and they don't matter. But right now, in this moment, and it happens to a lot of great football programs around the country, when you are ascending to the top, you start to develop these almost flings, these little temporary rivalries with programs who are also ascending that you're going to end up butting heads with a little bit. And that is Texas and Georgia right now. It's happening in recruiting a ton. It just happened for my CJ. Wasn't Derrek Cooper also considering Georgia?
They had a hat on the table.
Yep, they had some cupcakes out there too. Yeah, yeah. I remember. I think I heard somebody before he announced it was like, I think it's gonna be Georgia. So yeah, but Texas is recruiting a lot in Atlanta metro area, and in Georgia, and of course they got to play them again this year. They got to go to Georgia and play them, and I think they'll see them again in the postseason. That's been my prediction from the jump, and I was right about last year's postseason. Did you remember? Did that happen with Texas? That never happened did that happen when we were playing?
I don't think so. I think our rivals back then was just the traditional rivals.
It was just a traditional rival. We never
rivals, and then Arkansas.
Coming up. Yeah.
So we just had the traditional rivals. But what Coach Brown made me hate Baylor because he used to make us wear those little bears on our wrists during Baylor week. So I hated them so much because every time we walked in the building, we had to have our bear on our wrist, and it was terrible. And then y'all talked a little bit about Coach Sark going up to the podium playing the war hymn.
Yeah, the Aggie.
Yeah, so I had PTSD after that because you remember after the last game before we play A&M, we always had a bye week before the A&M game, right? Coach Brown would play on a loop in our locker room, pumped it in our locker room, that war hymn song. So when it came on, when Sark was walking, I was like, there, that song again. He a word to it. He pumped it in our locker room, made us hate that song.
Sounds like that.
Yeah, made us hate that song. Goodbye. It was terrible. And it was on. It was the song would end and it would come right back on. So you go in the locker room, take a shower, and hurry up and get the hell out of there so you don't have to hear that song no more, man. But it played for 2 weeks straight, and that's why I never lost to A&M.
That's you're glad you said that because I do have a loss to A&M and I'm not proud of it.
Dang it.
I got one of them to the Aggies and I'm not proud of that one.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting that Texas. It never happened when I was there either. I think it happened later, Coach, when a Baylor and Oklahoma State started ascending in the Big 12. Yeah. I do think Texas developed this little kind of tip like with Baylor and maybe something like that, but it didn't happen very often. This, I think, might be currently could be the best rivalries in college football. Like it's a national thing, Texas, Georgia. This ain't regional like those other rivalries. So just an interesting little anecdote there.
Yep.
All right, let me ask you: have you been paying attention to Texas on the recruiting trail here lately, getting the latest commitment from a running back, Derrek Cooper from?
Yes, Florida. I have. And that's pretty big. It's pretty special for us, man. We already have a pretty deep running back room, but it's always good to reload it, right? So class of 2026 is weren't we like 14 just a week or two ago? Ranked 14 for class of 2026, and I'm interested to see what the ranking is right now because we got some really good ones, and we're fifth already, jumped up to fifth. CJ's always on top of it, man. That's awesome. And then we got more time to go, so wait till the season start. I think we gotta hop up there even more.
And it's been interesting to see the rise, right? Because Stevie, you mentioned 14th, 15th in that range about 2 weeks ago, maybe. And Coach, I know that we've had the conversation of where would you set the line of Texas finishing this cycle? And well, for a while, we kind of sat there saying 1, 2, maybe 3, anything under 3 you feel pretty comfortable about. For a while, that got pretty hairy, right? It was like, I don't know, what kind of rabbits they're going to have to pull out of the hat to make sure that they get there, but they've done just that, right? Tyler Atkinson, the flip of James Johnson. Stevie, I don't know if you've seen him, but that is one of the top, if not the top defensive lineman in the entire country. But when you add a Derrek Cooper, now you have the star power offensively. I do want to ask you, because it's been a topic out here in San Antonio for the coaches convention, and I think we've probably talked about this, but are we to the point, Stevie, in your eyes, do you just see the staff go out, find, hey, these are the top kids in America, go get them, no matter where they're at? You still feel like there needs to be a balance within the state to make sure that, hey, some of these high school coaches make sure that they feel the love from Texas coaches as well?
That's a great question. I think when you were talking, I thought about that when you were talking about Sark being at the coaches convention down there in San Antonio. I think that's something that he has to do. He has to make those guys feel special because we still want to recruit Texas. But in the same breath, we got to go out and get the best talent in the country, not just Texas. Not just Texas. Now, build a role around Texas, but fill in where you can with talent across the country. That's what I think that we should do, what we need to do. Pulling these guys from Georgia, pulling these guys from Alabama. Let's not sleep on Alabama. And pulling some kids out of California, too. Then we have some really good running backs from California, i.e. Ricky Williams. So, I mean, don't just focus on – hard focus on Texas, but also see the big vision outside of Texas as well.
I would like to add to that. I think the development of high school players and high school football in general across the nation, especially across the South, has really, really been on the rise the last decade. You know, there was a time probably back with Stevie when you and Rod played. I can't remember the exact year. There was a year that Mac would boast it. Every player on the roster was from the state of Texas, and he would boast about that because they were so developed. But now, because of the internet and because of the video that's available and being able to sit down and study film, high school football across the whole country has really gone up to a whole nother level. And so, and I want to add this too, as a high school coach, I think it's a little bit overblown how much a high school coach influences kids. I mean, it kind of depends on that kid's family and home situation, but I've never told a kid where he should go, ever. And I've had several sign with Division I schools. But I don't think that, you know, you want the best fit for your kid, you know. I think that's a little bit overblown. I don't think the high school coach, maybe in a Duncanville, maybe DeSoto, maybe because those coaches are they're the most popular men in town. They're the heroes. They're the father to many players, many players. And I'm sure that might matter some to them. But for 95% of the schools in Texas, I don't think the coach is influencing the recruiting much. I really don't, other than just encouraging a young man to go where he fits in best and can be developed.
I'm going to push back a little bit, respectfully, though, of course. A coach cannot influence a kid where to go, but he can damn sure influence a kid where not to go.
Good point.
Yeah,
good
so
point.
he can a head coach, a high school coach can bad talk a school that you had in your top two. And then if he bad talk it a little bit, that one becomes two, you know. So
that's a good point.
I think you gotta make, you know, show face so that won't happen at least, you know.
Yeah, good point.
What's been interesting to hear this weekend is a couple of high school coaches spoke on, you know, one of the panels just saying, you know, I would love to be a bigger part of my kids' recruitment, but I can't. Right? Because the negotiations and the NIL numbers, they don't go through me. They more times than not go through an agent. And so it's the agent in which the kid is kind of using as that buffer to speak with college coaches. And, you know, there were a number of coaches yesterday. Joey McGuire mentioned it, Rhett Lashley, you know, Sonny Dykes, a lot of coaches saying, hey, if you're a high school coach and you have kids that you're sending to the league or sending to college every single year, please be a bigger part of their recruitment. Because to your point, Stevie, yeah, you could be an influence one way or the other, but more times than not, you're going to care about that kid significantly more than what Jerry Maguire is going to say about him, right? You know what I'm saying? Like your agent's going to care in the sense that that money's coming to him in some extent, but not to the well-being of the child. And that's where I think a lot of these coaches in the disconnect saying, hey, remain that piece in these recruitments until, you know, the ink is dry, and then continue to be there as they continue their journey. But don't let the third-party agents kind of take that piece because they don't care as much.
Okay, to have a rebuttal on that, I have no rebuttal. Because you're absolutely right. I was never involved as a high school coach with any type NIL or any even underhanded money. I was never involved in anything like that. So that's a great point. That's something I have no experience in. So I thank you, Stevie and CJ both. Those are great points, because an agent to me is kind of like a select baseball team coach. He's not probably near as worried about you as your high school coach is, because he just wants to. A lot of times, select coaches, they're trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
To try to get on a pro staff or a college staff or whatever. So, point well taken, guys.
I'll tell you something that's interesting to me. We were just talking about, we had the great super chat from Brooke earlier about, Bijan reaching out to Derrek Cooper and, Tyler Atkinson having relationship with like DJ and some of like the all-time greats here at Texas, and it adding to the recruiting element for Texas. How they're getting in touch has got to be the agents and the workout guys, because now that's the world that bleeds over, right? The individual, like what Lalin Clark was, like the individual specialist in coaching, because they're coaching all levels, high school, college, and pro, and then the now agent / representatives, and so now, like I said, I don't know if it was an NCAA violation back in the day, but now it cannot be, because in their circle, they are interacting and meeting these people, and they can get contacts from them. Like, did Bijan call Derrek Cooper? Did Derrek Cooper call Bijan?
That I don't know.
You know what I mean? Because it's the agents that are there. Like, hey man, you know what? I can hook you up. I got Bijan's contact. I can do that. You know what I mean? Like, in that crazy, like I think that's more of why we're seeing it, is because we live in a new world now where the professionals and the amateurs and even the prospects, they are more intertwined, or they're in more of the same circle than they've ever been, because the agents and the coaches. I know coaches who work out with high school kids and they work out with NFL guys, because they've worked out with them ever since they were in high school. Now they've kept the relationship the entire time. All right, and Bam's gonna be like that, or he is like that.
I got a question. CJ, have you ever heard of an agent? And like I said, I'm a little bit removed from this, so I don't have any background on this, even how high school kids get an agent. But have you ever heard any whisperings of an agent maybe being paid under the table by a college to push a kid to a certain school?
Not as an agent, no. Now, there have been some pretty well documented stories of, those personal trainers who urge guys to take a different trip. And I think more so than anything, because those trainers, for the most part, aren't linked to anything, right? You go find a field, you set up some cones, and that's where you draw your credibility and your revenue. For those agents, you could lose a license. There's more to lose on that side of thing in terms of getting in a kid's ear if you're said to then go, dictate where they end up. So I look more towards those agents of some sort, and that's where I think you might get in some shady stuff.
Shout out to Elijah, makes a good point. Rod, this younger generation, it's easy to get in contact with each other without the agents. That is true. But when they're like working out at the facilities of the, at the collective, working out the collective, and I tend to believe that it's probably people making that connection. But you can just slide into the DMs if you want to, and just like, hey, what's up? That certainly can happen. And that's probably why, there is, like I said, the worlds are bleeding over more and more, just because technology, to your point, Elijah, as well. Thank you. So I appreciate that point. Sorry, Steve, we keep you way too long in these conversations.
Oh man, I absolutely love it. I wanted to go back to what y'all talked about earlier with the 40 days. It reminded me of Lent. So this is Texas football Lent right now. What are y'all giving up? I think I'm going to give up beer, because when I go to the stadium is when I start drinking beer. So 40 days of Texas football Lent, I'm giving up beer. So y'all put it in the chat. I'm going to be here for a while. What y'all giving up for 40 days of Texas football?
If it was my choice, I'd be giving up traveling.
Stevie, the greatest number 40 you played with.
Corey Redding, no questions, hands down.
Oh, that's what I thought you said.
C-Red.
C-Red, no question.
He's right about that. C-Red was a beast. All right. Thank you, Stevie. We appreciate your time as always. Sorry we kept you so long, but it's always fun when we bring you on. So thank you for the time and have a great rest of the week, brother.
Let's do it.
All right. That is lifetime Longhorn, my former teammate Stevie Lee. Yeah, he's right. Is Corey Redding the greatest number 40 in Texas football history?
Got to be pretty darn close.
He's got to be.
I don't know of anybody that could argue that.
Randy
Pesci.
Pesci.
Y'all were talking this morning on Coffee and Football how he kind of was the one that got Mac in on his role in recruiting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it was him and Sims in the same class. I was in that 99 class, and I want to get back to Stevie's Texas football Lent conversation. Actually, I think it's pretty good to what I'm going to give up for the 40 days until we kick off against Ohio State. But yeah, C-Red was part of 99 class, and C-Red was the number one defensive player in the country. Chris Sims was the number one offensive player in the country. Matt got C-Red on board a little bit earlier, but when C-Red came on board, I'm from Houston. C-Red was at North Shore from that Houston area, and unlike today, where you can just slide into the DMs of somebody and be like, "Hey, what's up, man? What's up?" You know, I mean, you knew of players because what you do, coach, you would go to the high school section in the newspaper and look at all the stats of the players and stuff like that. Like, oh man, this player's really good, and they'd have the write-ups about the guys. You would keep up with the guys that way. And be like, okay, and we knew North Shore was a power anyway. We played every year in the playoffs. Once we advanced to the second or the third round, we would have to play North Shore or Katy every year. We didn't avoid it. I don't think we avoided it 1 year. Every time we'd advance, coach, second round, third round, Katy or North Shore be sitting there waiting on us. We beat Katy 1 year, and I think our reward was we had to play North Shore the next week. Got whipped. But he was part of. I mean, so North Shore had a great reputation even then for put out a lot of NFL prospects and a lot of D1 prospects. And I don't. You can go back and look at North Shore too in terms of the prospects coming out. He was one of the biggest prospects to ever come out of that factory that is North Shore. So when he committed to Texas, momentum, it was like an avalanche. And then he flipped Sims. He flipped him. Sims was committed to Tennessee. Flipped Sims after getting C-Red. And then that's when Mac was walking around like a mob boss because he got the number one offensive player in the country and the number one defensive player in the country. And that's kind of some of the stuff you guys are talking about, at least unprecedented acquisitions, if you want to call them that, commitments from top level prospects, CJ. Number one QBs, number one disposition, top. That's what Mac did in that 99 class. And that's when he kind of announced himself that, this dude's for real. He's for real. In recruiting, he's for real. And I don't know, Sark already had that moment because he had a number one recruiting class. But That was Mac's first number one recruiting class at Texas.
I was trying to think, what was Sark's I'm here moment on the recruiting trail? I think there are a few examples you could point to. The flip or the late addition of an Xavier Worthy. That's one. I think obviously that was his first ever recruit, ended up being an All-American 3 years to the NFL. That's a pretty good announcement that you're going to be a good recruiter. But I look at, the domino effect of which Texas ended up with a Kelvin Banks and a Cam Williams. Where would they be without him, right? That's the big one for me, because when was the last time Texas had a 5-star offensive lineman? 2004, was it? It had been quite a while, and you end up landing Kelvin Banks. You go out and you end up landing DJ Campbell, 2 5-stars in one class. That, to me, before you get to all the quarterbacks, was Sark saying, hey, what was going on in Austin beforehand, that's not how you win games. Trust me, I've seen in Alabama. I've worked close with the Atlanta Falcons. I know what it's like to build a team and have the construction of personnel in the trenches, and it's not what it's looking like currently. So we got to flip that. That, to me, is one. But there are some great examples, right? Archman and Quinn Ewers flipping from the portal. You go down Anthony Hill, how big that one was. Colin Simmons. There are plenty of I'm here examples, but that first one to me was the 2 5-stars on the trenches in that 2022 class.
Oh, that's it.
Hey,
That's
Rod,
good.
you have any idea who Corey Redding's defensive line coach was at North Shore?
Oh no, that's a
know
good
him.
one.
You know him.
I know him.
You
Who
know
was
him.
it? Who
Bo
was it?
Davis.
Was it really Bo
wow.
Davis?
Well,
Whoa.
Bo Davis was North Shore defensive line coach from 98 to 2001.
Yeah. Yep.
That would have
He
been
was
Corey,
there.
right?
Yeah, Corey came in 99, so he was there with him. Wow.
Bo Davis
Yeah.
was his high school D-line coach.
Damn. So North Shore producing great players and coaching. Well, I guess you gotta have it. They go hand in hand.
Crazy.
It goes hand in hand. Oh, great nugget, coach. Man, that was a nice nugget. That was good stuff. All right, I know you guys got a lot of good questions, so we'll get to those. Let me first thank another one of our sponsors before we move on, our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Flat Creek Estate Winery, folks, is just minutes from downtown Austin, and you've heard me bragging about their fantastic wine, the Super Texan, the award-winning Super Texan. Recently, it was entered into the San Francisco Wine Festival, scored a 98 out of 100. That's right, almost perfection. And I would say it's damn close to perfection. It was named the best top red blend in the country. So not only is it the best red blend in the state of Texas, but it's also the best red blend in our great country. So try it yourself. Trust me, you'll love it. They have it at our local Specs, at your local HEB as well. I saw it displayed at our local Central Market. So the word is getting out about the great wines over at Flat Creek Estate Winery. But not only is the Super Texan good, I've tried the Rosé, which is really refreshing. The Pinot Grigio is really tasty. I'm a big fan of a lot of their wines, so try them yourself, but go check them out at flatcreekestate.com. But not only do they produce some of the best premium wines on the market, but also they have a gorgeous venue with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend, perfect for a day date with your significant other or a weekend getaway with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. All right. Thank you very much to our friends at Flat Creek Estate Winery. Let's hit some of these super chats. I apologize for the delay. The super chats always interrupt the show. Dylan, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. Says, with Arch, presumably a 2-year starter and Dia being that dude after, what happens with KJ? Trey, is the plan to convince them to sit as long as Arch? I'll throw that one to you first, CJ, and then I want to hear what Coach's got to say about it.
If Arch Manning lives up to what we expect him to be this fall, that should be the easiest selling point to any quarterback to ever come to the University of Texas. Because odds are they're going to be talented. But odds are they also won't have the last name Manning. They won't have the hype. They won't have the expectations. And it's very borderline that they ever find a guy as talented as an Arch Manning coming in. Now, Diabell, the number one quarterback in the country, that might be a little bit of a tougher sell, right? Having those expectations. But you can point to an Arch Manning if – right, this season goes the plan and say he waited his time. He developed behind the scenes. He bought into what Sarkisian and Milwee preach day to day, and things worked out just fine. If he can do it, you can do it. Now, to the point, what's going to be the line of succession at the quarterback position? It's too early, right? Because I've heard a lot of positives about a KJ Lacey, and I'm not ready to say that it's going to be his job right after Arch, right? Trey Owens, talented. But I think when it comes down to it, Rod, I'm starting to buy into what you said about Trey Owens. You know, he might just be too talented to ever play at Texas, given a 2-year window for Arch. I think you're going to see a year at the very least of KJ. I do. I think he's that talented. There's just that ability to get the ball where it needs to go. And I think he has more in his legs than he might get credit for. That was one of the things in the spring that really surprised folks, is when that window, when that pocket condensed, he was able to escape while maintaining that vision down the field. And just like a point guard of Diabell, KJ Lacey, again, we've talked about it till I go blue in the face. Sark finding these guys that just get the ball where they got to go as a point guard background in basketball, it works. And that's what KJ does very well.
Coach, what are your thoughts about the kind of the quarterback hierarchy, if you will, now that I don't want to say it's guaranteed that Arch is going to be here for 2 years, but people seem pretty certain. And the Manning family, there's a certain MO, there's a certain method behind what they do. And usually the quarterbacks stay for, multiple years as a starting quarterback. So people think it's like an 80-90% chance that he's going to come back for 2 years. What does that do for the guys behind him? What are your thoughts about how it all shakes out potentially in the next 3 or 4 years after?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's no doubt there's going to be a logjam of talent there. But I think patience is the lesson that's being taught from the Manning family. And so if Arch goes out as a top 5 draft pick after 2 years of being the starter, then having the opportunity to work under him for 2 seasons and then play 2 seasons it's kind of the blueprint. I think it could be. Now, having said that, you look at these guys' eligibility, somebody's out. I mean, there's no way I don't think they can all be 2-year starters. And I have been a big fan of Trey. I love KJ's playmaking ability. And of course, Dia is the number 1 quarterback in the country for a reason. So I don't know that there's any way that we keep all 3 of those cats. I mean, I don't know how you can keep all 3. And I wish we could keep all 3, but unless we have a COVID come along where guys have extra years of eligibility, I don't see it happening. And I just don't look forward to the day when somebody has to make a decision and say, I love this place. I love the development. I love everything I've got, but I've got to do what's best for me and my future. And I don't know who that's going to be. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't even want to think about that day when we lose any of those guys. But is there any way we keep all these cats? There's no way.
No way.
And I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be. I just know this: somebody's going to get a heck of a quarterback when they do decide that it's time to move on.
I've been on the record, and I'll continue to be consistent. You guys have heard me say it. I think Trey Owens, I think he ends up leaving. I think he helps you stabilize the position, but at one point, I think he leaves and then opens up, obviously more space for some of those other guys to step up in that role. And like I said, I think he goes somewhere and ends up starting because I think Trey Owens is that talented. I think he's a really talented quarterback. But Texas has, recruiting Diabell. I think he's special. And I'll listen to what CJ says about KJ Lacey because, CJ's been on about his evals at the quarterback position. I'll give him and CJ a lot of credit there, so I'll trust him in that way. All right, let's get to
look at Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow at Ohio State. He's a logjam, So what does he do? He transfers to LSU, wins the national championship, and the rest is history. Mm-hmm. I can see Trey Owens doing something like that.
I'm glad you brought up Joe Burrow for a number of reasons, but I, for whatever reason, started watching the Quarterback One show on Netflix not too long ago, and Burrow's in it, right? It's Burrow, Kirk Cousins, and
yes, another one. I forget.
I forget as well, but just seeing how Burrow kind of conducts himself off the field, I'm like, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Arch Manning. And then you watch him play football, and not a great runner, but really athletic. And he extends pockets in a very underrated fashion. The different angles that they had of him in these games is a lot different than just watching him just from, the TV broadcast. Mm-hmm. And having seen Arch in the spring, having seen him up close, I'm like, there's a lot of Arch Manning in his game. Or there's a lot of Joe Burrow and Arch Manning's game. And I'm just like, this is really interesting because who did he mention that he modeled his game after in the Manning Passing Academy? It was Josh Allen, it was Joe Burrow. And I'm like, Joe Burrow might be that apples to apples comparison there. I'm going to be really intrigued to see if that comparison holds true at all this year.
Ooh, man, I love me some Joe Burrow too. I'm a Joe Burrow fan. How can you not be, actually, if you're just a fan of the quarterback position, period? All right, thank you for that. Splendid Daddy says 276 in the chat, less than 50 likes. Step it up. That's my fault, Splendid Daddy. I'm supposed to say like and subscribe, and I never say it. I'm supposed to start off every time I watch any kind of podcast or I watch any streaming. They always say like and subscribe at the beginning. That's how you know I'm still a rookie at this, so I apologize. So please like and subscribe if you would like to support the channel.
I want to add this. I know a lot of people that are working right now, but as soon as they get home, they put on OTF and watch The Winning Drive. I know that for a fact.
Those are our people. And we love you for it, damn it. We love that. No, I actually.
Yeah, baby.
I will say that I'm very proud of the staff here and the team here at OTF, because the last few weeks, CJ's still on the damn road. All right. Texas High School Coaches Association. Jeff was down there as well. Jerry was at the announcement of Derrek Cooper. Both Jerry and CJ were at Tyler Atkinson's practice. All right. I thought Jerry was in a huddle a couple of damn times. He was right there. The footage, and all these guys for SEC Media Days, trying to provide basically the best possible coverage of the team that you love. And I do a lot of research about a lot of programs around the country. Very few, if any, first of all, have as many really quality services covering Texas football. We ain't the only one. But I do believe our team is striving and getting close to being the best. And it's because of how committed these guys are. They want to get you, like, it ain't enough for Jerry just to go to live, for Matthew to live stream it. The announcement of Derrek Cooper. No, Jerry's going to be there and eat cupcakes while he's there and try to, get
interview guys in the middle of practice.
Yeah. He was there. I thought the coach was, like moving. Like, Jerry, I don't think you could be that close. You were really for the huddle. He was like inside the NFL. I'm like, bro, you ain't got that kind of access, but I think he does. And like I said, I know Jerry works hard. I've told this story before. Jerry Hamilton discovered me. Like I was at North Shore. As a matter of fact, I was trying to find pickup games basically of 7-on-7 back in the day. North Shore was where all the athletes were. So if I wanted to go compete with the best, me and my boy at SAP at Toronto Ridge went out to North Shore to go work out. And one of the times we went out there, Big Jerry was out there and watching prospects. And boom. You know what I mean? That's when he was like, hey, I think that guy's really good. First one ever put me on any ranking or anything back in the day was your man, Jerry Hamilton. So he knows
talent evaluator.
He knows his stuff, but it's because they get eyes. The same thing with CJ. This reason the evals are more accurate. You got to get eyes on the guy. You can't sit behind a computer doing it. I mean, you think you can, but you got to go see him. You got to go talk to the people that are close to him. You got to go talk to the coaches. Go talk to that teacher, that janitor. Go talk to the folks that's at this announcement. You'll learn more about them. And that's the nuggets that you get over here. Anyway, don't get me started. All right, let's get back to Super Chats. Splendid Daddy says, what's missing on the Brockermeyer's rock bottom? Oh,
yeah. That was tough. Rock bottom for me, Rod, was the decommitment of Quinn Ewers. She was very openly saying, I want to go to the University of Texas. I have the Longhorn tatted on my leg.
Yeah.
And then he ends up at Ohio State, and you see the losses. You see the season not go its plan. And I think that's when the Texas brass was like, all right, we have to make a decision or change at the head coaching position. Ultimately, a year later, you end up with Quinn Ewers again. But that, to me, was rock bottom because there was a lot of turmoil behind the scenes. You obviously expected a better season. And then to lose the number one quarterback in the country who was kind of expected to be the savior, well, that was that.
That's a good one. Yeah. I don't know if I follow it closely enough to give you a rock bottom.
Brockermeyer's was tough, though.
The Brockermeyer's because it's a legacy.
Yep.
Right. And but you lost a couple of legacies, but that one was, I'm with you. That was really tough. And I agree with you on that, Splendid Daddy. All right. I remember it wasn't rock bottom because I don't know if he was ever going to go to Texas, but I remember a quote. Well, remember Garrett? Was it Garrett Wilson?
Yeah.
Who had the quote about Texas? And I don't think he was ever actually gonna because he had the ties to Ohio State and all that kind of stuff. And the ties to the state of Ohio, I should say. But what was the quote? He basically said that, I'm paraphrasing, that great players go to Texas and they disappear. They don't develop any great players. That was one of those kind of rock bottom moments of recruiting for Texas too. You rarely hear a quote from a player like that saying something that I think was very much true in a lot of ways at the time. And here a prospect actually said, I think was one of those kind of moments.
A prospect of that talent and that proximity to campus. Right. Oh, not what you want to hear. That was it. That was one of them. I think all Longhorn fans got a kind of cringe-worthy moment. And I'm like, I don't like. Not that. To keep going down this path, and I know Andrew Makuba never said this, and credit to him, because I'm sure it was top of mind. In fact, I kind of know it was top of mind. He's like, I went to Clemson because I trusted their ability to put me into the NFL.
Oh yeah.
And that's why you didn't end up with 4 years of Andrew Makuba. You got one good one.
Great
but
one.
I'm sure Texas fans, after seeing that one good one, would have loved to have had him for all of them.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was another. 817 Mr. Talk Too Much says we had plenty of rock bottoms. Missing out on Andrew Luck. Ooh, yeah. Oh, don't get us started about the quarterback. The quarterback depression at Texas, where everybody else seemed to find great quarterbacks from Texas, and yet the University of Texas couldn't get elite quarterback play. That was one of those rock bottom moments. All right, thank you guys for that. Let's get to Loin Girder's super chat. Thank you, Loin Girder. We appreciate the super chat. Says beating Georgia in recruiting is all well and good, but on the field results have to follow against Georgia, or that will stop. They have scoreboard.
They do.
Good point.
I've long said a rivalry isn't a rivalry if you get your ass smacked every year, right? Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, that's a rivalry because they're in the same state. You look up what that overall record is, it's 91-19. That's not a rivalry. That's an ass whooping. Now Texas, Georgia, it's going in that direction of a rivalry, right? Mm-hmm. But for Texas to hold up its end of the bargain, they got to win some of these games. Will they do that on the road in Athens? That's a tall task, but with the way that they're recruiting, especially with some of these recruiting rivalries going on currently, you could get some really, really healthy storylines moving forward. Texas planting its flag in Georgia, taking the top player in the state 2 years in a row. Oh, and then going to Georgia and winning that game so that the last 4 times that they've played, 3 obviously, last 2 years, got to go back to the 2018 Sugar Bowl. But you'd be sitting there 2-2 in the last 8 years. Not a bad place to be. But there's got to be a give and take there in the rivalry. Otherwise, well, it's not a rivalry.
I agree with you. I think Lauren Gorder makes a good point. We can talk about and celebrate these recruiting wins. But the truth is, Kirby on the field has proven to get the best of Sark. And Georgia's right now proven that, hey, they're going to be hard to dethrone. You want to be the man, you got to beat the man. So if Texas wants to be the king of the SEC, they're going to have to beat Georgia to do it. It seems like that is the narrative, right, Coach? And that is, to me, that's poetic. It should be that way. That's football in a nutshell. I remember for us, we had to go through Oklahoma. Oklahoma had won the national title. We were not going to ascend to the throne to be the best team in college football unless we beat Oklahoma. We didn't do it enough when I played. All right. And I think that's part of football, overcoming, that ultimate hurdle, that last hurdle for Texas. It seems like it's going to be Georgia for them.
Over the years, I think you're going to see it just like University of Oklahoma, OU, Texas. You're going to have years where Georgia has the upper hand and Texas has the upper hand. What I don't understand is how all the years A&M has been in the SEC, they've only played Georgia one time. How is that possible? How is it even conceivable that they can only play Georgia one time in all the years they've been in the SEC?
That's a flawed formula by the SEC too.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Although Texas all time, I think, has the lead on Georgia. I think we've only played each other 7 or 8 times.
I can believe that. Yeah, but
of course, you got to go back to the 40s and 50s. 1984, Georgia beat Texas 10-9 in the Cotton Bowl. That's the last time they played till 19 when we whooped them in the Sugar Bowl, which I was on the sidelines for, which was one of the funnest games I've ever been a part of.
I almost forget about that game. So I think you gotta tack that on to the brief recent history of that rivalry, because I remember how Georgia fans felt about it. And I remember them saying, this is a game that we didn't care about. Our guys weren't motivated for them. I'm like, it looked like Tom Herman's team just kicked y'all's butt, but y'all can say what y'all want. But I was like, I'll admit, even Longhorn fans were like, whoa, we didn't expect to see this, because that was Tom Herman football in a nutshell. Like that's if you could ask Tom Herman how he wanted the game to go and how he wanted it to come to fruition on the field, that was almost the ideal Tom Herman game in that game versus Georgia. I just didn't think they could do that versus Georgia, and they did, man. They whipped
Well,
Georgia.
Georgia obviously. I mean, we went into the game. We're like, we're going to the Sugar Bowl. Yes, and Georgia was going to the game like, dang, we should be playing for the national championship, but we have to go to the Sugar Bowl. And so by the time we jumped on them, well, first of all, Bebo did the first jumping on that Bulldog, and then by the time they realized that I was about 10 yards away from that. In fact, I was talking to somebody on the sidelines, and he was facing that way, and I had my back to it, and he started backing up, and his eyes got big as saucers, and I'm like, I turned around and saw that Longhorn coming my way, and I got out of the way. But by the time Georgia realized that we came to play, it was too late. They couldn't do anything about it. That was a fun game. But I will say Georgia obviously was not at their best because they had a great football team that year. They should have been playing for the national championship had they taken care of business in the SEC championship.
Yep. Well, they definitely have came to take care of business the last two times they played Texas. So, I agree. I think Texas, if you're Sark and you want to keep, you're recruiting guys out of Atlanta and recruiting guys that are committed to Georgia, getting in the flip. If you start winning against Georgia, imagine how much success you could have in Georgia and recruiting against the Georgia. Because right now you don't have scoreboard. Kirby Smart is walking in his living room saying, guys, we just beat them twice. And the guys are still saying, yeah, but I want to go to Texas. And that's to me, that's a
short rope. And that's not going to last long. You better start putting results on the field.
Yeah, that's remarkable though, because Kirby's got everything to sell that Texas does. I mean, except Austin and academics and some of that stuff. But in terms of football program, Kirby's getting guys to the league too. And right now Sark is able to go into Atlanta and get guys who are usually almost guaranteed to be in that Georgia roster. All right, let's take another sponsor, our friends over at South Point Dodge before we move on and dive into some other topics. SouthPointDodge.com. You can score an easy extra point this season when you get to the point with our friends over at South Point Dodge. South Point Dodge right now, guys, have over 600 vehicles in stock right now. So a great selection. So I'm sure there's something there that will pique your interest. They also have that all new 2025 Ram 1500. You can get the real deal today and drive away in the new Ram 1500, proven to last. Plus, you can get employee incentive pricing. That's right. You pay what the employees pay right now at South Point Dodge. SouthPointDodge.com is where you can go. You can check out their inventory there, or you can go there in person off of I-35 in South Austin and go see their inventory. Whether you need a car or a truck, you need a trade-in, something new, something used, whatever you need, South Point Dodge is Austin's automotive everything. So get to the point today with our friends over at South Point Dodge. And don't forget about the employee incentive pricing. That's their fancy way of saying you get the employee discount at southpointdodge.com. All right, guys, before we get into some more questions, and thank you guys, we'll try to answer a few more before we get done with today's live stream. But let's get into this athletic article. They proposed a hypothetical where they basically ranked the college football programs according to how much they would sell for if they were open bidding for purchase for these college football programs. And no surprise that at the top of the list of the athletics article, the most valuable programs, they have Texas, and essentially having Texas at 2.3, their overall valuation or projections, $2.38 billion. What say you, gentlemen? Projected sale price. Too high, too low? Coach, I'll throw it to you first. Texas football program is worth $2.38 billion. Too high, too low?
2.5 times more than the Aggies, by the way, which would probably qualify as little brother. But I'm sure that's based on TV viewing, on merch sales, on attendance, on I don't know what else it could be, but that doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't. I mean, especially as of late, Texas has been flexing its potential the last 3 seasons, and I think that number is only going to go up because, as we've said many times, you guys have predicted this many times, 2025 is going to be a great season for Texas, but 2026 is the year. Y'all have both said that numerous times. And so I think that number's only going to go up, and it's only, unless there's just an epic failure in the next season or two, they're only going to separate themselves from the pack, in my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think this is a surprise at all. It might be oddly a little undervalued.
I think so.
We talked about it last year, or we talked about it in Atlanta. Look, Sark said that Texas averaged 8 million eyeballs per game. And I can only imagine that increases maybe another 1.5 million, 2 million this year with Arch Manning at the helm. Now, if this evaluation comes out 3 years from now following the Arch era, hey, it's probably closer to $3 billion. But right now, 2.3 feels right. And it's also interesting, just looking at this list, I would have expected Alabama to be a little bit higher. Worth maybe a little bit more. I'm also a little surprised at how much Tennessee is valued, but that goes into the fan bases, a lot of the expectation, the hype, everything that goes into it. Tennessee, for my lifetime at least, I've just kind of been a run-of-the-mill team. Like they were 8-4 before A&M was 8-4 for me. So that's interesting. But yeah, you got to go all the way down to what number is that? About 15 to see Texas A&M.
Too low. It's a little low for them, but it's because they haven't achieved on the field. But in terms of, I guess, just assets and stuff like that, I mean, the Aggies, they got money and tons of influence, but they haven't their brand. They have not necessarily been able to maximize their brand on the field like Texas has.
Are you guys surprised that Oregon is as low as they are?
No. My thing with Oregon is I think a lot of the value in a franchise is what you've already accomplished, let alone the ceiling in which you could. But you look at the Yankees, you look at the Cowboys, I mean, like the Dodgers, all these historic franchises. And I know you look at Michigan, you look at Notre Dame, those are probably the two that you could always point to and say they've been at the helm or they've been right there at the top of the sport. Oregon doesn't have that beyond what? When did really they start flexing some of this money? I quite frankly don't know. It really wasn't until Dennis Dixon that I was like, okay, Oregon's a pretty cool school. And that was in about 2007, 2008. So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me too much.
I also think Oklahoma's trending down. I don't know that value on Oklahoma is accurate.
It may be now, but I agree. If they have the arrows, the arrows that point up and some point down, I'm with you, Coach. I think the stock right now would be kind of stock down. It doesn't mean, like I say, if John Mateer, I'm calling him Johnny Mateer. They hope he's Johnny Mateer, but if John Mateer, if he is Johnny Mateer and ends up, being like a Heisman candidate or whatever, then they got a chance to, kind of stabilize that program. I think there's a lot of pressure on that young man to perform this upcoming season. So any other surprises, guys, here? I mean, Florida State, Florida State's, that's low for Florida State, but I think it's kind of based on where they've been lately. It's kind of based on what CJ's theory that, lately they haven't, what's the best value on the list, guys? What's the best
LSU.
Yep. That's a good one, CJ. LSU.
It wasn't really all that long ago, Rod, that Nebraska would be near the top.
Oh, I remember. When I played, Coach, I was playing, Nebraska would have been, easily in the top 10, right?
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't remember.
Let me tell you, they were unbelievable. I mean, they were consistent. They were very consistent.
Yeah. No, they were.
Yeah, Auburn, that surprised me a little bit. Auburn ranked higher than, I don't know. I don't know who I'd put above them that's above them, but.
Yeah, but Auburn, in terms of accomplishments, honestly, I'm not joking. I think that's a Cam Newton stat.
Yeah, I'm about to say without Cam Newton, Auburn's not in the top 15.
Bo Jackson, I mean, but they have one generational guy every 20, 25 years, and it's like, okay, what else do you do besides then? And it's like the answer is nothing. You don't do anything.
They don't, but they spend money chasing Bama.
Miami, interestingly, not here is a surprise.
Good point. That's a very good point.
I know that might just be because, look, small school, comparatively speaking, in terms of enrollment. They have the history. They got the location. That's one I think is a little surprise.
Smaller alumni base, too. You don't have as many eyes on them. They have a very small alumni base, whereas Texas, as you guys probably know, has the largest living alumni in the country.
Boom. Coach still got them talking points.
Recruiting, baby. That's recruiting point.
Coach still sound like he in a living room right now. Hey. I love it. I will say this: Arkansas. I thought when NIL started, right? What was that 2018, whatever? I remember saying, I was like, "Hey, man, I wonder if Arkansas will be one of those who's like kind of what SMU has done, and they get because they do have some money." I thought they're big time, like there's Walmart money supporting Arkansas, and is it Tyson Food? Was it Tyson
Yep.
Food? And Jared Jones is an Arkansas guy, and yet never really I guess they made a move in basketball, but I haven't heard anything.
I think there's something preventing Jerry Jones from being a big donor to the football program, having the ties to the Cowboys. I think that's part of it, because I think for a while, look, Mark Cuban, as big of a basketball fan that he was, going to Indiana, he can't necessarily be that booster and that source and funnel to the program that he owned the Mavs, right? So I think there's a hurdle there that kind of prevents Jones from being a big booster like you would expect.
Yeah, it's a good point, though. They didn't think about that.
Very similar to Tito Beverage with Tito's vodka.
Yeah.
He's worth what, $5 billion?
Wow.
He goes out and publicly supports the Longhorns. That's bad. That's bad for business.
He doesn't care.
Just like Tyson Foods. That's not good for business.
What's the Michael Jordan quote? I guess you could spin it this way. It's just Aggies drink vodka too.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Although Tito did tell me he's donated like $7 million to Texas A&M. Yeah, they've really helped him with his research on his corn and
agricultural, right?
Boosting of the vodka. Yeah, he's given a lot of money to Texas A&M, so they can't throw rocks at him. Damn
right. Oh man.
I'm not saying he's an Aggie, but I'm just saying.
Well, honestly, it's smart business is what it is.
It's business.
That's smart business is what that is, Coach.
Yeah.
All right. Let's also be smart business, folks. And let's thank another one of our sponsors, our last sponsor of the evening, our friends over at Von Lane. And if you have to travel in between the major Texas cities or to the major Texas cities, Austin, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, the best way to do it is with our friends over at Von Lane. And when you need to travel to any of these major Texas cities this fall for the big events coming up, right? Whether it's the football games or whether it's ACL or major concerts, trust me, folks, Von Lane is the best way to travel, the most luxurious way to travel to the major Texas cities. You skip the airport stress, forget the long, exhausting drive. Instead, just step aboard a Von Lane motor coach where every seat is first class. Just 22 oversized leather seats with 140-degree recline, leg rest, and personal space that you won't find anywhere else. Your onboard attendant serves complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal if you'd like. And you can, booking is right now open through September. So booking is open for October as well. And you can lock in your seat for Texas versus Oklahoma or F1 or ACL in Austin or big football weekends in Nashville or Houston or Dallas or Fort Worth. Von Lane connects Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Nashville, Atlanta, Memphis, and new routes, including Knoxville, the Woodlands, and Plano. Friends over at Von Lane, trust me, folks, the most luxurious way to travel. I know personally because I've taken it to DFW, I've taken it to Houston to visit family and on business. The best way to travel to the major cities in Texas. Reserve your ride today at vonlane.com, VONLANE.com, and use the promo code OTF25 to save $20 on your first trip. That's Von Lane, private jet on wheels. So love that. All right. Thank you very much to our friends over at Von Lane for their ongoing support of On Texas football. Okay. Oh, how about this one? We got Splendid Daddy with another super chat. Thank you, Splendid Daddy. Appreciate your multiple super chats today. Says, won't it be hard to develop rivalries in the SEC given the schedule? We could theoretically go years and years without playing Georgia. Great point. That's a great. The only reason I said it prior to last season is because where Texas was ascending, and I knew you were going to play them back-to-back years because they had already announced like this schedule. They were just going to repeat it home and home in 26. And I figured, well, Texas and Georgia, looked like they're the best teams in the SEC. They were going to meet in the SEC title game, so they were going to meet 3 times in 2 years. And I predicted they'd see each other either in another SEC title game this season or college football playoff matchup at some point. So my prediction was 4 to 5 times over a 2-year span when we knew they were going to play. And then you would develop these rivalries because of recruiting and, Kirby and Sark, taking these little kind of subliminal little shots at one another and by recruiting, and you would get, and then the fans, of course, we got Georgia fans on this site now all the time, and we do it. I'm sure our fans check out their site because we're in this recruiting battle. So that's why I predicted. But you're right, Split Daddy, and that's why it's probably a flawed system that the SEC has. They probably should leave it. I don't know if you can do it. I don't know what their formula is, and if they reveal it like the NFL, but they probably should leave it open more because think about next year. They don't want Arch to go play at Ole Miss. They're gonna want Arch to play Tennessee, and then is that guaranteed to be back-to-back years? Like, I don't know. And that could be a really cool rivalry. Tennessee, if Tennessee's good, that could be a good one. Ole Miss could be between Lane and Sark and how close they are. And if Ole Miss is good that year, like you can develop these really quick hitting rivalries. They're basically, it's a quick thing, right? It's like a spring fling. Like, you ever had a spring fling before? Like, it wasn't gonna last longer than a few weeks because you were off on vacation or at camp or wherever the hell you were, and it was like, nah, we're just gonna kick it for a while. I think that's how these rivalries are. They're gonna flame out pretty quickly, but I do think they can heat up. They can be supercharged for 2 years. Like right now, give me a better game right now or a more impactful game on the SEC than Texas versus Georgia.
Especially given the fact, like you said, that they're going to be playing numerous times probably either in the SEC championship or in the playoffs.
Yep.
Even if they're not on the schedule, there's a good chance if we can keep up the momentum and they keep up the momentum, you're going to meet them again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's why I think it's going to be really cool. But you're right, Spinner Daddy. I don't know what I do know they're going to try to get Arch to play where his kinfolk played. They definitely want him at Ole Miss, and they want him in Knoxville. They definitely want that. We all want that. Hell, I would be stupefied if the SEC didn't do that next year on the schedule. That'd be crazy, right? Yeah. When we don't really have a guaranteed locked-in schedule for 26. Man, you gotta roll with the Arch factor, if you will. We'll see what that is. We know Texas averages 8 million viewers. We'll see what they average in next season after this season. Because then we know Arch could be theoretically responsible for a million and a half bump in average viewers per game. So, all right, let's thank our sponsors one more time. Thank our friends over at Von Lane, vonlane.com. Remember, use that code OTF25. You'll get $20 off your first ride with Von Lane. Thank our friends over at Flat Creek Estate Winery, flatcreekestate.com. Thank South Point Dodge, southpointdodge.com as well. We really appreciate them. And Hardgrove Roofing for sponsoring our segment with Stevie Lee. And thank you very much to Stevie Lee for taking the time as well. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes. He's the real MVP. Apologize I couldn't get to all of your questions. You guys had great questions today. We couldn't get to all of them. But if you have a question you really, really want us to answer, you can direct them to the gentleman at Coffee and Football bright and early tomorrow morning. That'll be at 8:15 with Bobby and Jerry. And then I will be joining, I believe, Aaron Hogan, myself, and either Jeff Howe may be on that. Who knows? On the Tuesday night live stream at 7:15. So if you missed your questions, you can just roll them over to tomorrow's live stream. Thank you, Coach. We appreciate all of your expertise, knowledge, and wisdom. Thank you, CJ. Great stuff as always, man. Great nuggets. And thank all of you out there for watching and for listening, and for CJ and for Coach and for Matthew. I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.